So thank you, Lizzy, for granting me the chance to chat with you today. Can you tell
Thank
me a
you
little bit
for
about
having me.
how the preparations are coming along for your North American tour with the academic?
Oh my gosh, I'm really sorry to say that tour actually just got pulled. The
Oh
academic just
no.
canceled it this week. I know, which is such a bummer because I was so looking forward to getting back out on the road as soon as possible. So now I'm in the process of sort of trying to figure out the next time I can get on the road is LPX. It sort of threw a wrench in my most immediate touring plans.
Bummer.
But as that came through, which is such a bummer, I was really fortunate enough to get this offer for the Falls Festival in Australia, which is this December. It's this December and January, and that's like a huge personal win for me. That's the festival I've always, always, always wanted to play. And when I started LPX, one of my main goals was sort of getting back out to Australia as soon as possible. And that festival in particular has just a really wonderful reputation. So even though the bummer of the academic tour being canceled was heavy, it very quickly turned around with the offer for Falls. So something shit happens and then something good happens, and
Yeah.
always sort of a constant emotional roller coaster. I think whether you're an independent artist or not, it's just taking those strides as they come.
Yeah, so who else are you going to be sharing the bill with at that festival? Do you know?
It's an awesome lineup. Yeah, it's like Catfish and the Bottlemen and Interpol. I think Bishop Briggs is doing some dates. TK, who's a really, really good friend who I haven't seen in a while. Mallrat, who I love. I've never met, but we've sort of gained a friendship online. It's cool. It's such an eclectic bill, and they do a really good job of just really supporting and introducing new artists. And it's quite rare that definitely that a non-Australian act would be included on the bill, but especially to be an independent artist. So it feels, like a real W to be heading out there and be, doing it.
Cool. Well, best of luck to that one.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so you've been very active on social media platforms and engaged directly with your fans quite often. Why do you feel it's important to continue this connection with your fans?
I think it's important in general. I think on a people to personal level in life right now. I think the world is in a really chaotic place, and the only areas that I feel like I really affect change or feel better on a day-to-day basis is when I'm interacting directly with other people. So to have that direct communication and exchange, it feels like you're creating a real relationship beyond just fan to artist, and that's so important to me, especially as a fully independent artist. I don't have management, I don't have a label behind me, so whatever happens between me and that audience has to be intimate and direct and personal and special, because that's what makes what I'm doing possible. And I want everyone who supports me or doesn't agree with me, to know that I'm sort of all ears and I'm there to sort of have the conversation. And, anytime someone comes to a show, or they're sharing the music, or they're giving me feedback, or they're introducing me to a new artist, that all is a really beautiful gift to me, and I'm really appreciative of it. It's what is making this possible, and they're, really challenging days, and to have and see that real support in real time is really amazing. It's something I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, and it
seems
there
are a lot of things to not be grateful for with social media.
I hear you. So it seems very authentic when you do that too, and it seems like people respond to that too. They want to come to the shows. They want to come see your performance and that type of thing. So it seems like it's working really well.
I hope so. I think so. I think the beautiful thing about this age is there's no room, I think, for, bullshit and inauthenticity with who artists are and how they relate to their audience. And I take a lot of pride in being exactly who I am, sort of in every platform and all mediums, and in the music especially. And the place that I love that the most is really performing live. I think I was built to be a performer more than I was to be in the studio. And the moment where I'm able to perform it live and to connect directly with an audience and have that sort of in-person exchange, that's when I feel most alive. That's when the music is at its height and its best. And it's when I feel most connected to everything around me, I think.
Right. So congratulations, by the way, on the 10-year anniversary of Neon Gold Records. I just heard about that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, so can you share what the label and you've been working on lately?
Oh my gosh, it's so busy right now, which is amazing. The 10-year anniversary was such an amazing celebration of sort of celebrating our past and our present and our future, and it was such a nice mix of artists that we have, a long-standing relationship with, people like Marina and the Knox, and then also current artists that we're working with. So, Yor Smith is a new artist we're working with. We just released her EP this past fall. She just went on a headline tour. She was on tour supporting Rye. She's doing some dates with Violent Femmes right now. And it's really exciting to be working with her. She's one of my favorite artists we've ever worked with. Just a completely singular, unique voice and human being. And for me, she really sits in this beautiful sweet spot of, I don't know, she feels like a Carole King, a David Byrne. She can just so effortlessly play between genres, but at the end of the day, she's such an amazing songwriter. And that's the thing that I prize so much, to be a singular artist and then to have a real voice, not just in terms of tone, having a voice, but having something to say.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. We're working with Matt Mason, who just put out more music, and we're working on his album right now. He's another singer-songwriter, grew up with playing in the family band and playing in prisons, and is now doing his own thing, and it feels like a really strong future voice of alternative. We're working with Broods, who just put out their new first single in a couple of years called Peach, which is incredible. We're putting out their album next year. They're a band that I've been a fan of for so many years, and have been friends with, because Miss Mister and Broods are on the same festival circuit for so long.
Okay, yeah.
That it feels so amazing now to be collaborating and working together. It feels like a long time coming. And they have such a solid sense of self, and I think they're really going to carve out a new space for themselves in pop and create a new lane within pop in general. And that's something that I really prideful about with the label. I feel like Neon Gold, we've always been able to reestablish what pop means to us with the artists that we work with, and they feel like a really exciting, fresh face and step forward with that. So I'm excited about that. And the Knox just put out a record. So a lot of balls in the air, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. Things are really actively moving, and it's fun to have a hand in so many different projects all at once, and all be sort of coexisting in different lanes, all have very different perspectives. But they're sort of, I don't know, I love being an artist. I'm so grateful for it, and it's such a huge part of who I am. But being able to work with other artists and do whatever I can to help see their vision through and support them and navigate that is one of the greatest joys of my life. And I think it makes me a stronger artist in my own right. It takes me out of my own head. It's nice to be sort of focused on other people. So I'm grateful that I'm able to balance the two, and that, to have a partner and best friend in Derek who sort of allows me the space to do that it's a pretty unique setup and situation, I think.
Yeah. So what do you find to be more involving, actually, running the label or being a touring musician?
It beautifully goes hand in hand. For me, it's interesting. It's just really about time balance. I'll wake up and I'll do emails for the first 2 hours of the day, and then maybe I'll go to the studio to cut something, and then maybe I'll go to a show that one of our bands will play to give feedback, and I'll just do meetings with their managers. And the thing about being on the road is that you actually have so much downtime in the car, just physically traveling from one place to the next. So it's sort of just about using that time wisely, and instead of just sleeping or listening to music in the car, being on email and giving mix notes and ideas about who people should get in the studio with, and what we should be doing uniquely campaign-wise. And it's fun. For me, it just means that there's no moment wasted.
Yeah.
Which feels good. I've always sort of operated best when the more I have on my plate, even in high school. So it's nice that I have the time to do both. And even, when I'm on the road and I'm playing a show, it's an opportunity for me to meet the venue and make connections and talk about the artists that I'm working with, and vice versa. When I go in for a meeting to talk about my artist, sometimes there's space or opportunities for LPX, and it's really nice that I can coexist in both worlds, and that they both sort of support one another.
That's great that you have that relationship. So.
Yeah, it is special. Even down to the All Things Go boys, who I just did Fall Classic with.
Yep.
I met those boys through Derek, who was my business partner at Neon Gold. He grew up in DC. I grew up in London. and I would go visit him in D.C., and the boys who run All Things Go have been his best friends since they were 15. So I've known those guys since I was a teenager. So it's fun to sort of rise through the ranks and support one another, and for them in turn to support me. And that conversation came about to curate this festival so naturally based on years of friendship and sort of coexisting and respecting one another in a music space, and that became such a powerful platform on a larger scale for how I feel about the industry and female empowerment in general, and also as a support system for LPX. And it's nice, this industry is so small, and I think it can be overwhelming, but I really cherish the fact that I've built so many personal and intimate relationships, and that's the thing that makes what I do, I don't know, unique and possible.
Yeah. So what are your plans with the current project, LPX? Do you plan to record a full length based on the success of strong singles such as Might Not Make It Home and Slide, or are you going to do the EP route for a bit?
Well, it's so funny. I'm sort of figuring it out as I go. I put out my first EP this past January, Bolt in the Blue. I just put out a new single, Might Not Make It Home. I'm working on putting out a second single really, really shortly, definitely this side of the year, so that's coming soon. And I have a second EP ready to go sort of at the top of next year. I'm always writing. I always have things in my back pocket. For me, I just really want to be sharing music as I'm evolving in the studio and as I'm growing as an artist. And so I think after this second EP, based on sort of how the music is coming together behind the scenes, if stylistically and aesthetically it feels like I need sort of that third port in the storm to round out sort of the scope of what I'm doing, then I'll do it. But I definitely am working on an album, a full length, that I think will be a combination of both music I put out and a lot of new things. But it's so exciting and awesome to have the space to sort of figure it out as I'm going and really follow my gut of when it feels right to put something out and when something is ready and when a vision is sort of wholly realized. It's exciting, and I do feel like I'm constantly shifting and evolving. Even the step from the first EP, which was very sort of highly aggressive, high octane, high energy, very prickly, very loud. This second EP feels a little bit more, it's funny, I keep thinking about it as if it's like a modern John Hughes soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
That's sort of how it feels.
Yeah.
I'm sort of more comfortable re-engaging some of the synth sounds that I really felt at odds with and wanted to avoid on the first EP. So it definitely feels like another evolution of what LPX is. And I already have sort of a bubbling sense of what a third EP might look like. And I love the idea of maybe, potentially these three EPs existing separately, but only through the triangulation of all three of them do you sort of get a sense of who I am as an artist and how that will sort of coalesce and come together in the form of an album. So it's cool. It's nice to have the door open for experimentation, and I'm just grateful that people, are listening and along for the ride. And Might Not Make It Home felt like such a huge liftoff from everything I've built off the EP, and I'm so proud of that song. It's really one of the first, really light and fun songs I've ever written, and that was something I felt like I really had to do given the sort of current climate and culture of the world.
Yeah.
And I think if you know me, I am generally a pretty light and bubbly person. It was really fun to do something that felt so free and paid homage to New York, my favorite city.
Yeah, so I have even made a joke with you on Twitter about that you were dabbing during that picture. So that was me giving you a hard time.
You're so right. It's so funny. I hadn't that until you mentioned it. I was like, oh my god, that's so hilarious. It totally does look like that.
Yeah, because my 7-year-old son does that, and I was like, that looks like a dab.
Well, I hope it's just one more reason for the kids to feel connected to it.
Absolutely, yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about any chance of a reunion of Ms. Mister in 2019? And if not, what's the current state of that project?
The current state of that project is just the same as that it's really on hiatus. Max and I are still incredibly close. We talk all the time. We always share the music that we're working on. We have such a beautiful and respectful relationship. And I absolutely don't think we're done in the studio together. You know, I think this has been such an important period of growth. And I know that sounds like such a stock answer, but it feels that much more important, I think, to Max and me because neither one of us had made music before this semester. So to have this time to, you know, sort of spread our own wings individually and get in the room with other people, you know, it forces you to evolve and change. And I totally think I've become a much better singer and writer in this time and space. And Max is cutting his teeth all the time working with a million different artists and producing. I think he's feeling really, really confident and strong as a producer. It's going to be really interesting and amazing, I think, when we get back in the studio together, sort of coming together with these new skills.
Yeah.
But I also think respectfully, we're both really enjoying our lanes. You know, I think Max is really enjoying not being on the road. He loves being in the studio. I'm really, really loving having the opportunity to work with so many different people and make music that's in a lot, you know, more of a rock space, which is really so much closer to the music that I actually grew up on. So it's fun. There isn't a plan, you know. I think it's not the last time that you've heard of Miss Mister. There is a future there. But I don't know whether we'll do something in 2019. Not to say that, you know, we still totally could, but as of right now, there isn't a plan to.
Yeah, it gives you a chance to kind of refresh for each of your projects and stuff like that, too.
I think so, and you know, as things come together, as Max and I do come together, you know, I think we'll be really honest with, you know, an audience about it. But I'm excited what Miss Mister could be like, you know, in the future, given what we've done on our own. And I'm also still excited for him to have songs coming out this year as a producer, and I'm really excited to keep sharing LPX music. It's exciting for me for the first time in my life to be doing something on my own, you know, after 10 years doing Neon Gold with Derek and 6 years on the road with Max and 2 albums. And, you know, it's really cool, I think, to be taking all the lessons I've learned from both of those projects and personally, and be a 30-year-old woman and stand on my own 2 feet and not compromise and really do things exactly as I see them to be done. And it's an empowering feeling and something that I feel like I owe myself to do. So I feel really, I don't know, just excited and comfortable and geared up about this lane that I'm in.
That's perfect. I'm glad you're in a good space for everything right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, so please share what your songwriting process is for you and LPX. How do you typically compose and structure a song, for one?
It's been interesting. So much about this process, LPX specifically, has been really about just getting out of my comfort zone and doing things completely differently than I've done them in the past. And so that means not being as precious, I think, about, you know, either coming in with a plan into the studio. You know, often when Max and I wrote, either he would sort of have a track and I would write on top of it, or I would have written an a cappella track and we'd write chords underneath, or I would sort of written a poem and we'd sort of put it to music. And LPX is about, I think, being a lot less precious and restrained than I've been in the past. So, you know, things like Tightrope and Tremble, those songs were created in the middle of the jungle in Nicaragua and basically written and recorded from midnight till 6 in the morning, and, you know, drunk, screaming at a microphone very honestly, and sort of physically breaking myself up and breaking myself down and sort of really, really committing to the intensity and emotional breakdown of a song.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I think those two are so powerful to me. I think they're so unhinged in a way that is so honest and broken and really captures like the moment that I transitioned from who I was as Lizzy and Miss Mister to who I am as Lizzy as LPX. And that sort of gave me the confidence to keep putting myself in uncomfortable positions and doing things differently. You know, with Might Not Make It Home, similarly, like, I wrote that in the jungle with my friend Tommy and Caroline and Phoebe, and, you know, that felt like all hands on deck. I'd never written a song with that many people in the room. I didn't know how that was going to be. You know, was I going to lose my own voice in it? And that wasn't the case at all. And in some ways, like, I felt coming out of that experience that I was more supported and more aggressive about my ideas than ever. And in some ways, Might Not Make It Home is like the most unpretentious, pure version of myself.
Yeah.
Where I'm really inviting you to come out on a night with me in New York. And that is sort of what it feels like. And even some of the more recent songs I've been doing, things that aren't, the next song that's coming out is a song called Give Up the Ghost. It's one of my favorite things I've ever written. It's sort of a love song or peace offering to my favorite ex. Which sounds like such a funny thing to do, because, when you break up with someone, it's usually like, you're done with them forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was a piece of me that really wanted to honor that person and relationship as, even though we're not together, they're a really profound person in my life.
Yeah, it's almost like a moment in time kind of thing.
Totally. So, I wanted to write a song about what it feels like sort of finding a new normal with someone who meant so much to you and still means so much to you. And I think I've been trying to write that song for so long, and I just couldn't find the right way to do it. And I was in the studio with this guy Connolly, and we spent 2 days in the studio together trying to write a song, and it just wasn't working. And our last hour together before basically he had to catch a flight home, he started playing these chords, and I was like, I'm starting to feel something. Can you just turn the microphone on? I'm just going to go in the booth and see what happens. And he just played the chords that start the song over and over and over, and I just honestly burst into tears, and this song just spilled out of me. I mean, it's one of the, I don't think I've ever really had an experience like it, where it just felt like I turned my brain off, and I was really talking to myself and to my ex-partner, and we wrote this whole song in an hour, and it's so beautiful. It's probably weird to say that about my own song, but I think it's such a beautiful song, and it feels that much more powerful to me because it came from such a real place, and it wasn't about sitting down and agonizing over word choice and structure and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always a nice reminder when something like that happens, that, I don't know, there's like a real sense of magic in the writing process, and you can really sort of push that out or smother it if you become too preoccupied with the craft of it. Not that I don't fully admire and many days work on the craft of songwriting, but for me, I'm really finding that these magic moments are happening when I'm not too precious about that process.
Yeah, and it sounds like the passion's really coming through on a lot of these tracks too. And I know just like your vocal delivery, and in particular like the songs like you mentioned, like Tremble, you can honestly hear that in your voice. So it's definitely coming through to the listeners too. So
that's awesome. I'm really working on that. Just, I want it to be real. Like, I really want it to be just fucking honest. Because what's the point of doing anything, I feel like, right now if it's not sincere? So I'm really trying to take that seriously, I think.
Great. So tell me a little bit more about the energetic set that you had at the All Things Go Festival in D.C. How would you first of all describe your live show, and why should people check out this project?
I'd say if you're liking the music, you should definitely come to a show. Like, the show is what the songs were written for, and it's where I come most alive, and I feel really confident. Like, I think you could bring anyone to an LPX show who hasn't even seen the music, and I don't think anyone would have a bad time, whether you like the music or not, because it's so performative.
Yeah.
It's super high energy. I'm so inspired by Karen O and Matt Schultz from Cage the Elephant and Iggy Pop, and I just want to be this lightning bolt in a bottle on stage. Like, I want you to feel like you're in it with me. I don't really care if the songs sound perfect. I just want it to feel like I'm giving my whole body and heart to the performance. And I want the crowd to be lit up, and I want us to be in it together, and I want people to sing along and lose their voice to it, and even if they don't know the words, be able to scream along with me, because there are so many screaming moments. And I really think it's just this incredibly free space to cut loose and be sort of the loudest, most wild version of yourself. And I grew up going to rock and punk shows, and for me, it became like this really, honestly, weirdly, like meditative space to sort of lose my mind and connect with people around me. And I'm trying to marry that within sort of a pop sphere, because while I think the songs are really rock and punk inspired, they're still pop songs.
Mm-hmm.
But the energy of a rock show is, I think it's one in a million. It's so unique, and I really miss going to those shows where I lose myself in it.
Yeah, and it seems very like organic, like when you're kind of like on stage and performing. It seems like you are in tune with your audience too, like when I've seen you perform and stuff like that. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I want it to be a living, breathing thing. I don't want to feel like a robot on stage and go through the motions. I'm never going to be that person.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like this is the part where she does like a spin kick or something like that. Yeah, it doesn't seem choreographed, is what I'm trying to say.
I think in a lot of for a lot of pop artists, that is a path that people take, and I again totally respect that. A lot of time and heart goes into orchestrating a show with visuals and dancers or choreography, whatever it is. I have the utmost respect for that. I just want to be sort of like, I don't know, the wild younger sister of that experience, who's like a little bit more like untamed and unpolished and raw. Yeah, I just want it to sort of grow and win and wane with the audience, and I think it does. But I'm super proud of the live show, and I welcome anyone and everyone, whether you like the music or not. Like, I love the opportunity to win people over, and I feel really confident in that space that you'll just come away having a good time. I think so.
Yeah. So, and I think you were on a panel during that All Things Go To with like Maggie Rogers and a couple others, right?
Yeah. The boys put together this amazing panel. It's actually two panels. There's a panel before us that was of incredible female entrepreneurs in all different industries, which was incredible. And then afterwards there was a women in music panel, and it was me and Maggie Rogers and a woman who works at Columbia Records, and my friend Cleo Massey, who's in publishing, and this amazing writer who's an editor at Billboard. And it's always so cool to get, so many women within the same industry together to talk about sort of their experiences. It really isn't a cookie cutter story, but there are a lot of overlaps, and sometimes it's really helpful and supportive, or just curious and interesting to hear other people's, path within this world.
Yeah. And I just heard that she's going to be on tour with Mumford and Sons, which is a huge opportunity. Yeah, it's a huge opportunity for her for getting in front of huge audiences and stuff like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her, and like she's a forever artist. Like, you could have anyone from any age group listen to Maggie and she would win them over. She's so pure, and I'm so lucky and grateful that we became friends and are as close as we are, and we I don't know, we call each other all the time.
That's awesome.
The silliest things, whether we're trying to figure out what we want to wear on tour, or figuring out someone who's like challenging on the team, or just to like sort of gab about like our favorite things, and even this festival came out of a conversation on tour where we were sort of dreaming about what it would be like to be on the road with so many other female artists. So it's so nice to have that genuine camaraderie and friendship, and not just like, I don't know, a false surface level PR, whatever. It's so cool that me and her have this real thing. And for her to get on the road with Mumford, it's perfect. Like, that audience is going to totally get it and love her. She has such a great friendship with those boys. I actually grew up with those guys in London, so, like, they're friends of mine from so long ago. So it's just always a nice reminder, this, like, friendships continually, like, feed themselves, and to see people that you love sort of grow and prosper is really inspiring.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that concert, because I'll actually be at the DC date for that one.
Oh,
so.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Have you seen Mumford before?
I have only on DVD, so never live.
They are truly such a fantastic live band.
Yeah.
They put on such an amazing show.
Yeah, I love like the Red Rock show and stuff like that. It comes through the speakers really like more powerfully than it does on record, so I can't wait.
It's so amazing. And I think about a band like Mumford a lot, because they toured for like 5 years on their own before they even signed a record deal, just putting in the time and putting in the work with their audience and doing it by themselves. And I think about them a lot.
Yeah, I think it shows too. So.
You put in the time, you do the shows, you get on the road, you build an audience. No one can take that away from you.
Yeah.
And that's how you build a career as an artist. And yeah, I think about that a lot, about the road dogs. The Mumfords, the Portugal the Mans,
Mm-hmm.
the Cage the Elephants, the Group Loves, people who really, they just put in their time on the road. I just think it's the most important thing.
Yeah. So who gave you the Red Queen nickname as one of your songs on the record? So.
It's so funny. No one gave me the Red Queen nickname.
You just branded it?
I self-branded.
Nice.
I guess intentionally. What's so funny about when I wrote Red Queen, it was really a nod to Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, okay.
And that was just like a reference point in the lyrical process. And then as I was putting the finishing touches on that record on the EP together, it just became so funny to me that like I am in fact a version of a Red Queen. And it's really stuck. So I sort of say to myself, like, jokingly, but you should see my closet. It's just becoming like really one color.
That's funny. So, any unique merchandise designs in the works for this project for LPX?
There is. It's funny that you say that. I'm just working on a merch item now that I think is really funny. That hopefully I'll have up this side of the year, probably around the new song release, and definitely before I go out for falls. It's so interesting, like, having come from Miss Mister, where I had, a major label and a big management team behind me to help execute this stuff. It's so much more. Everything about LPX is so DIY.
Yeah.
It's the artwork is I'm putting it together on Keynote and trying to learn how to export it myself, and my friends are taking the photos, and I'm, finding all the outfits in vintage stores, and I'm uploading everything to STEM myself, and I'm making the merch myself, and it's in some way, it's so much more work, but it's so satisfying.
Yeah, it sounds like rewarding, I guess, if it works out. Yeah.
I really worked for it, and I hope it comes across so that when people they do get a merch item or listen to music or share it, they feel like they're really in it with me, because there's really no medium between us. It's pretty direct.
Okay, so last question for you, Lizzy. This has been a great conversation back and forth. What are some of the artists you admire today in today's music scene? You already mentioned a couple of them. And what particular attributes are you drawn to?
I'm always really drawn to people who are really doing things on their own terms, sort of regardless of trend or cultural consumer appetite, but are really staying true to themselves. And people who just slow and steady sort of put in the time and win the race. And someone who I talk about all the time, and I just love and admire this artist so much on a musical level, but also how they've sort of achieved stability in their career, is someone like Mitski. I just think she's deeply, deeply special. I love every record she's ever put out. I so admire how she's done things on her own. And she's doing this huge tour this fall, and she's sold out every single date.
Wow.
And it's such an important and significant reminder that it is possible to do this on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think she's incredible. And if you're not familiar with her music or her songwriting, she's just so interesting. I mean, really just pulls references from all over, and I love her voice and her songwriting. I think she's amazing. I love Christine and the Queens. She feels like the future of pop music to me. She feels like, I don't know, Charlie Chaplin meets Michael Jackson. Just so endearing, such an amazing performer and dancer and vocalist, and produces her own material and does things her own way, and she really doesn't compromise, and it's really amazing. And it's so cool to see her getting the critical acclaim and shine that she so wholeheartedly deserves, and I can't wait for the world to really catch on at just how amazing she is. And I think people do know, but I think at some point she's going to have that crossover song that goes to radio, and it's sort of like undeniable, and I'm just so excited to see her sort of journey as an artist unfold. So I don't know. There's so much good music out, and that's so inspiring to me. I really hate when I go for a meeting and I sit with sometimes like really curmudgeonly old people in this industry who just don't think there's any good music out or what's happening with like culture in general, and I just think it's bullshit. Like, I feel like we're coming through this incredible renaissance of music now more than ever, and I think art is more powerful and needed than ever, obviously, again, in the wake of sort of these political and cultural times, and there's so much I love, and there does seem to be this return to the songwriter in a way that's really exciting. You know, someone like a Phoebe Bridgers or a Big Thief, it's just really cool to see happening. I know I'm really going on and on. There's just so much I love, but I will say I literally just listened to this girl who has like less than 1,000 plays on all of her songs on Spotify, and I think she has one of the most beautiful voices and sounds I've heard in so long. Her name is Haley Coupon, and I just can't recommend it enough. I just think it's absolutely incredible. It sounds like Joni Mitchell meets Fiona Apple.
Wow, okay.
Unbelievable. Haley Coupon, check it out. I'm not working with it. I have nothing to do with it. It's so amazing. And sometimes when you see something so precious like this true jewel in the wild, you just want it to succeed so badly. So I'm trying to scream her name from the rooftops just because I think this woman really deserves a shot. It's really spectacular. So something that I wholeheartly recommend and hope people will check out.
Awesome. So we'll be sure to include that in the interview and everything like that, so she gets the proper due diligence, of course. And we'll probably see you two together on the LPX headlining tour, right?
That'd be pretty cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Lizzy, for your time.
Thank you so much, Adam. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I had a great conversation with you, and I wish you all nothing but the best.
Thank you. Hopefully see you soon at a show.
All right. Sounds great.
Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Candace. Bye.